I have a surprise for you guys. And that rhymes. There was a recent situation, and you'd only known this if you were on Twitter, I believe, Twitter or maybe Discord. There's a person called CryptoRealist. He's pretty well known in the cryptocurrency space, and he does, live events, and he'll talk about projects, certain projects. One is WAGMI that he's looking at, not to be confused with GM WAGMI that I covered some while ago. This is a different one. But he does these live projects, and today, I think it was today or maybe even late yesterday, he put out a live, and I think it was actually this morning, and he was talking about how he had gotten rugged. And this caught me off guard, not because, obviously getting rugged is a thing. It's not like it's an unusual thing. It's not like it's an unexpected thing for anybody. I mean, everybody's going to get some project that's going to just tank at some point. And I do plan to do a separate episode about that for Crypto Talk Radio, found at cryptotalkradio.net. But this gave me an idea. This was an opportunity to do what I refer to as a post analysis. So in audit terms, what you do is you'll review something, and then whatever happens, and then you go back and you look at what happened. And ideally, you should be learning from the experience of what you saw. So what I figured I'd do is take a look at the project that rugged him. He had it on the video. And so I was able to parse out the contract to make sure I was on the right one, because I wanted to be fair. The project that rugged him, and he openly admitted that he, quote, aped into it, which is essentially not a YOLO, but he put a lot of money into it. And I would argue he didn't put a lot based on the amount he lost. But for some people, it might be like, wow, that's a lot of money. I didn't see it as a lot, but I would certainly have not put as much as he did. But I looked at the project, and obviously after it rugged, they yanked certain social media, they killed the website and all this. And so fortunately, I was able to track down what the website was. And for those that aren't aware of this tool, I think it's an awesome tool. Been using it since it first came out decades ago. Archive.org, aka the Wayback Machine, which allows you to go and put a website that's no longer in existence in the search, and it'll come back and it'll try to find if it's got a snapshot, as in a picture at time, navigable, of what the website would have looked like when they caught the snapshot. Now, of course, this assumes that the people who yanked it weren't as efficient in the time between they posted the website and when they yanked it, because the snapshots are very infrequent. Fortunately, this one was there, so I ran it, BabyApeNodes.finance. And of course, if you try to go there now to BabyApeNodes.finance, you're going to get an error because it doesn't exist anymore, because it was killed because of the rug pull. So don't try to go there. You'd have to go through the Wayback Machine in order to see this. But I was able to get the snapshot of the site as it was. Now, there's only one snapshot, and I can tell based on the graphs that this was a recently released project. When I go to the website, though, this is the exercise for you guys. And this shows how much I care about doing this kind of coverage, because this is a great example. I love that I was able to get introduced to this situation. I don't feel good that that happened to CryptoRealist, but I think he would admit ultimately it is what it is, and he didn't do research. He openly admitted he didn't do research. So that's the narrative of my coverage today, not to attack him or go neener, but to hopefully educate as to why I do the coverage I do and why the things I look for are why I look for those things. Let's go through this. So if you were to look at the graph right now, obviously it doesn't look like anything, but this is one of those that launched on Pink Sale. You know how I feel about Pink Sale, because the Pink Sale ones, for whatever reason, seem to be higher risk than the ones that don't do Pink Sale. I don't know why that is. I can't answer that question. Simply that I'm seeing a pattern, or as Tim Bradley says, a pattern with the Pink Sale tokens, where they seem to be more prone to rug pulls or failures than any other one. And of course, the one I identified where they actually used Pink Sale to scam the project. So already right there, because it started with a Pink Sale, and I'm looking at the graph and I can see it was very shortly going to follow, and actually did. It didn't follow the Forever Financial, because that never even launched. It followed other projects where it launched Pink Sale, immediately jumps, and then they, in this case, rug it. It wasn't like people dumped it. And it looks like the project's still alive, because somebody ironically bought into it, bought off the dip, as you're told, after the thing had dumped, as far as I can tell. And then of course it's got no activity because people see that it dumped, and then the FOMO's dead. And some people are smart enough to realize this guy's probably done. So you can tell that they yanked it. There's other tokens that have done similar patterns. So I can tell that it's still a live token. I can tell that these are rookies. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the same group of people that yanked other projects that did similar patterns of the initial jump off of a pre-sale and then a dump later on. Because I think, it's a theory, I have no proof. I think it's the same group of people that are spinning up these projects and they know they can exploit pink sale to make a quick buck because pink sale's not doing anything to protect people. That's my theory. I have no evidence. I'm simply saying this to me is indicative. It feels like it's indicative of people that are exploiting that platform to rip people off, because I'm just seeing this consistently happen. Like I just talked about OpenStream World as an example. OpenStream World, they eventually actually did launch off pink sale, but then after they launched it, they implemented a vesting to where you have to wait every month to get 20 some odd % of your tokens. Then it tanked because they pissed off the investors. And so it's unlikely, they're probably going to just yank it and say, okay, well, we can't make it succeed. We tried our thing because we didn't want it to dump and it didn't work. And if they had listened to me when I reached out to them, I could have told them this vesting is not the right answer. But they did this and it's never really recovered. If you look at ones like Quantera, it launched, but then unfortunately it didn't really go anywhere. Forever Financial launched, it's still a thing, but it never really went anywhere. On and on and on. So I saw that pattern and I suspect these might even be the same people. I had somebody reach out and ask about nodes, and I referred them to Strongblock, which is one that I covered. Strongblock is still there. It's still sustained, but they're about to do, I believe, a migration and changing because they realized the initial wasn't working. This BabyApeNodes is playing off the whole nodes, fantasy. I'll call it a fantasy because I don't think we're there yet. I think nodes are a thing, but I don't think it's evolved. I don't think any project is going to be able to pull it off in the short term. And so I think they were just banking off nodes. Everywhere is a node. It's worth jumping in there. When I went to the cash site, folks, I got to stress this. You've heard me say multiple times, I don't like at all when you have the garbage Git book. That's the first thing you see on the site. They link you to the garbage Git book, and the garbage Git book is where they have everything. They've got, and the thing is, even in the garbage Git book, there's nothing there. What's a node? And then it's got 2 garbage paragraphs that don't mean anything. They literally don't. They're not wrong. They're not lying, but these don't mean anything in the context. There's more to the definition of what they're saying. This should not have convinced anybody that they know what the heck they're talking about. Then they say, okay, how do you buy the token? Without telling you what the token's for, what's it supposed to do. All it says is how to buy it. This should have been red flag number 1. Because your mind instinctively jumps to how to buy, and it triggers you to FOMO because you're like, okay, buy now. We're going to do this. We're going to buy, but there's no fundamental to it. First, how about telling me what the token does and what it's for and why you're doing this and everything else? They don't do that. Later, after the how to buy, after how to create a node, and the how to create a node is garbage, garbage. They're dumb bullets. They don't explain. They're de-app. They don't have any screenshots. They don't guide you through it. They don't assume that people don't know. They assume people do know. Then they give you the quote system. And this is designed to FOMO too, because they're talking about monthly ROI with no explanation how they're backing up the monthly ROI. They're doing generic terms about diamond nodes and all this stuff that don't mean anything. They're calling out players. They're talking about games. Nodes are not about games. Like, it's a 2 different concept. There's nothing about games that I see because their white paper says nothing about games. In the tokenomics, they break out the basic tokenomics, buy tax of 0, sales tax of 8. If you heard me before on an older episode, this is like ID Finance old, I talked about the fact that the buy tax is kind of strange because you're punishing people to buy. Having a buy tax of 0 probably I think that was strategic. I think they did this because they knew, okay, cool. We're legit, man. We just don't want people to sell off this thing. So we're going to make it free to buy into this. Actually, what happens is they positioned it kind of as a soft honeypot in the sense that they made it seem like you can sell. They punish you for selling just to trick you into not selling so that they could dump on it. But they enabled themselves to do the excessive dump. So they probably had the vast majority of tokens, is my guess. It says core team 1%. That doesn't mean anything because as far as I can tell, it wasn't ever locked. When you go into then off this same garbage deal, they said that the KYC was done by Pink Sale. Pink Sale has already enabled people to scam people. So anybody that says I KYC with Pink Sale should not be trusted. Because at that point, like, could you imagine if I were trying to do transactions with Best Buy? I'm a vendor. I build computers, and I want to do business with Best Buy to sell my computers. And I tell my customers, well, you know, that clerk over there at the counter with the cell phones verified my identity, so you know my computers are not going to blow up in your house. Deep, deep, deep. You wouldn't buy that. It's garbage. This doesn't make sense. You would not KYC with the same org who's doing the sale, because that could, I'm not proving, I'm saying could indicate some sort of inside deal, that they're working together to scam you. That's why I'm so anti-Pink Sale. I don't think they should be doing KYC. I think they should require you do KYC with another reputable firm. And it shouldn't be something on GitHub or any of that garbage. It needs to be a real thing. In a perfect world, it would be on the site, and this is why. They have allegedly an audit. This is tech audit. I've had a couple of tokens that did tech audit. They did this audit on March 24th. The tech audit, when you look at the document, is decently well done, but as you've heard me say before, it doesn't go into the mechanics of what the people would do. It doesn't tell you the people are not going to intentionally try to rip you off, and there's not much to it. Then they say, oh, there's no high security issues here. Of course not, because if they funneled this scam through Pink Sale, as in tricking people that this is a legit thing, and again, even now you can trade it, but they enabled themselves to dump on it, that's just as risky. If your audit can't call that out because it's all internal to GitHub, you're tricking people, you're lying people. In my opinion, and this is Binance Smart Chain, in my opinion, if you want credibility on the Binance Smart Chain, it starts with a Desert Finance audit. And the reason I say that is because they go through methodical details about the who's and the what's of the contract, and they're going to call out all the issues. These guys say, quote, the code was tested, read line by line by our developers. We use Remix IDE, don't worry about what it is, and tools to test the contract functionality. Critical? Nope. High? Nope. Medium? Nope. Low? Nope. That's crap. Every contract has at least lows and mediums. Every single one, because it's not possible to not do that, especially when you go to the very front of this dude and it says ownership not renounced. Contract owner can modify fees. Contract owner can blacklist addresses. KYC not verified. So it's already calling out these things, and it doesn't say that those are even low severity. Automatically, this audit is crap because you're not calling out your own issues as in the severity table. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why call them out if they're not even severe enough to call out as a low? Why would you call those? It doesn't make any sense. So right off the jump, their audit I see is garbage. Their white paper is garbage. Their KYC is garbage. Now let's say that they're just incompetent, right? Just on the website alone. If anybody looked at the website, and I'm going to make the statement, and he can be angry at me, and I understand, and we can talk it out. If CryptoRealist is going to tell me he looked at the website and saw it was legit, I'm going to say, no, there's no way, dude. There's no way you could have. It's not possible. I believe you were sold on the pre-sale, constrained inventory, potential price movement when it launched. I think you FOMO'd in. I don't think you looked at the fundamentals. There's no way you could have, because the fundamentals are so blatant. I've not seen, outside of maybe, well, even Sanacoin had better fundamentals than this. And Sanacoin wasn't a rug pull, but it was just incompetent, blatant incompetence. I've not seen a project with this bad of a website that I can recollect anyway. This is bad. Like, if you look at it, they allegedly had a Discord site. They had a Twitter site, spun up, and then, of course, Telescam. And I suspect, and I can't tell because it's at archive, but I suspect they were forcing people to Telescam, where they had a bunch of shills going on. It didn't look like they used shillers. It looked like they just had their regular people shilling the project through Telescam, is my theory. Here's what the site says. Our vision, quote, our vision is towards sustainability, transparency, and longevity. The unity of the apes brings prosperity and strength to the whole herd. Doesn't tell you jack Doesn't tell you anything. This isn't even answering the question. Sustainability of what? Transparency for what? Longevity of what? There's nothing there. How Baby Ape works. Just simple. Buy a node and enjoy the reward every day. Simple and completely free upgrades, I'm quoting. Makes your Baby Ape more efficient and productive than ever. Banana Booster will be the passive income when you refer or receive referrals from other players. Let's enjoy these delicious bananas together. All they're telling you is buy a node and enjoy the reward. It doesn't work that way. A node is generally not purchased. A node is generally, you establish it, you create it. And usually it's running on your computer, and then it does what it needs to do as part of as a node. And then it may generate whatever, but it's not just buying a node. That doesn't make any sense. I can tell who wrote this. I can tell the team behind this were younger. You're figuring somewhere between 18 and 30, probably somewhere in that range. They're younger people. They probably looked at some of these other node projects and said, you know what, they didn't understand what the heck they were looking at and said, you know what, this node thing's kind of popular. Let's just spin this crap up and make this work. I can tell that they, of course, because of the whole Bored Ape nonsense, they said, well, Bored Apes are a popular thing, so at least if we get some of them to buy into it just based on the word ape, we might make something happen. And then they slapped together a bunch of garbage artwork that doesn't really do or mean anything. Like the first image is some quote unquote metaverse of a thing with Baby Ape as a sign over top of it. Doesn't tell you what it is. You can tell that there's something, but you don't know what it is. You assume it's a casino, but what the heck does a casino have to do with nodes? It doesn't. Then at the top, it says BabyApeNodes, as in they didn't even spell the name of their project correctly in the welcome. And it's the largest text on the page. And they didn't catch this blatant typo at the top of their page. You go down and then it says, here's how to buy it. Here's how to purchase a node. Own the first node and the Baby Ape will immediately work for profit. And it has a mint button. Of course, I don't know what the mint button was supposed to do because this is a dead site. Claim reward. Baby Ape will work, I'm quoting, work hard 24/7. You just have to wait and enjoy the reward. That's not how it works. None of them work that way, certainly not nodes. Because again, you don't just buy a node. That doesn't make any sense. You have to create it. You have to establish it. Usually there's something you install, and then after you install it, it enables you to do the work that it needs to do. But after it does the work, it doesn't just flow to you. There's actions you have to take in order for it to turn into a reward, especially if you're talking upstream about this banana garbage, banana booster, which as described is just an MLM pyramid scheme as described. So if you're saying that I get this reward by having other people downstream from me, nowhere on the site does it describe exactly how you would do this. They have an FAQ. What is a node? Quote, a node is something that can be purchased in exchange for a lifetime passive income. That's crap. Quote, once a node is purchased, it cannot be undone. That's crap. Quote, the passive income a node produces is often referred to as rewards. Yeah. Quote, the time it takes for the purchaser to recover their investment is known as a return on investment period. The problem with this is, again, no, a node is not something that can be purchased in exchange for a lifetime of passive income because the fallacy of this is lifetime, number one. Lifetime doesn't even make any sense because chances are with something like this, it's not going to be sustainable for a lifetime. You're making promises you can't support for a lifetime. So you're making these lofty promises. You're triggering people to think that this is a thing. There's no way. There's no way. How and where can I do this? We're not launched, but it'll be available on PancakeSwap to buy the token. Then they give steps to do it. Okay, so it's not launched, but you make these promises of something that's going to be doable, but you have no way to prove it. You have no way to give evidence of it. You have no way to support what you're saying. You're making faulty statements before you're even launched. If you position it to say, here's our vision, it goes back to that word, our vision that you'll be able to do these things, and then you show it, okay, that gives more credibility. These guys weren't smart enough to actually lend credibility. They're just banking on FOMO buys. How to create, because they spelled create wrong, a node. HTTP, go to this site, and here's the thing. The site that they quote is not the same site. Then they say create node. That button doesn't exist on the site that they quote. The site that they quoted, I can tell they copied this from somebody else's site. I'm not sure who, because the website address is literally wrong. Then they give basic instructions on how to do MetaMask, and then they link you over to back to the garbage Git book. for no dang reason. They have a launch app button that doesn't work, and apparently it looks like it was supposed to work at the bottom and it didn't. So they didn't even go through the detail of checking their website function and doing QA and making sure that the website was working before launching this. So like the website doesn't even, because it doesn't even fully work, because the documentation is not complete, I can't imagine why you would, if you looked at the site, why you would think this is a legitimate project, because I don't see legitimacy in this one at all. Here's the funny thing. The actual app that they apparently created for this works. So that site works. It's still live. dapp.babyapennodes.finance actually still works. And it takes you to PancakeSwap to buy the coin. It allows you to create a node, allegedly. I'm assuming it needs BAPE to be able to do that. Upgrade, claim. When I look at this tool, I can clearly tell it's a copy. My guess, just looking at it, is it looks like they may have copied this actually from either Baked Beans, because it looks like Baked Beans deal, or another similar project. The funny thing, though, is when you look at the code, and of course I wouldn't expect you to know to do this unless you do know, but if you look at the code, there's nothing here. Like there's no actual execution logic. So none of it actually would work except for the PancakeSwap part of it. The PancakeSwap works fine, obviously, because it's just a link. Other than that, there's nothing else in here. There's no execution code. From what I can tell, this code would never actually do anything. Now, if I saw this DApp looking so dang generic, I'm going to look at the source code and just see how are they executing what they're executing. And if I saw this, I automatically see this thing is garbage. There's garbage. There's nothing to this. I decided to take a step further because I wanted to understand, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Maybe there's something else to this. So I decided to look into one of their scripts. This is a script they call runtime. So I wanted to understand, maybe there's something baked into a separate code file that is not apparent on the site. I looked in this and there's nothing to this code. I mean, there's literally nothing to this code. And I can tell they copied it from something, and it's obfuscated, which means that they wrote it in a way that you're not supposed to tell what it does or how it's supposed to work. So I can already tell that these guys are scammers just looking at this code snippet. Like there's nothing to the code that matches what they say the code is supposed to do. So everything, my point is that I see nothing but scam. When I look at the site, I see scam. When I look at the garbage Git book, I see scam. When I look at the phony audit, because it's clearly phony, I see scam. When I see they did a pink sale, I see scam. When I see the KYC pink sale, I see scam. When I see that the DApp looks like a copy of other things, I see scam. I went to the pink sale launch pad just to take a look at it. Based on the amount they were trying to get, 50 BNB, they got 3 times that. That's not too bad. But then when I looked at the metrics for the token, which tell you how the distribution works, 30% of it's unlocked. So to me, this is like, okay, they probably held on to that stuff and then dumped on it after it climbed. So it's not like it's not an official rug pull in the sense that they took the liquidity out. They cheated. They basically are cheating pink sales, what's happening. So to summarize, what pink sale lets you do, it doesn't enforce how the developers manage the project. It's just a post, like a bulletin board. And you can put it up there and you can say, hey, we're KYC. They don't check the KYC. And if pink sale does the KYC, they do a garbage avenue of it because you don't get access to the identification information. They take it on face that there's an audit by just simply uploading a document. They don't require you to lock the liquidity. They don't require you to do a dev vesting. They just take it on face that everything is safe. So when you buy in, pink sale will straight tell you, well, that's up to you. You got to do your own research. And they don't protect you in any way unless it's prior to the launch. So like if you caught something prior to the launch, you can then withdraw it as, quote, an emergency withdrawal. They allow the devs to charge you a fee on the way out. So no matter what, pink sale is not protecting you. And that's why I'm so sketchy on pink sale, because they don't do anything to try to keep you safe. They just wipe their hands of it when you see this happens. Then the way that this is described screams scam. Like everything of this screams scam. And it's blatantly clear that they're banking on FOMO buys. That's fine. If you're a gambler and you're like, I'm going to take a gamble on this and see if I can exploit it. And even now, if you were to buy into it, it technically would take your buy. I don't know why you would do it, but it technically could do it. If you were fast enough on this, because I don't see that they had stopped trades until the last minute. It looked like it allowed trades in the initial pump. It looked like it allowed some trades because it looks like people did sell, as far as I could tell. So it looks like there was a period where people were able to dump out of it. And they got a couple $100 if they were fast enough on it. But come on. Is this the kind of project that we want in crypto, where that's the only use of it is to pump and dump it and then let the devs take off with, in this case, what looks like $50,000? The $50,000 is what tells me they got to be younger guys, because if they were smart about it, they were sitting on tokens and they could, based on the rate of growth I see, this dude was en route to hitting $1. So if I'm right on the velocity, and I wasn't there, it's after the fact, but if I'm right, based on the velocity I see, where it was getting crazy major buys, they could have done trickery with those coins, let it go to $1 and dumped and got 500,000 and then dumped it. But I can tell they were just kids that just wanted to make a quick buck. Usually when they're doing that, they're taking that money and spinning up another similar project to rip people off somewhere down the road. All I'm saying, again, CryptoRealist, I know he's a pretty smart guy, and he admitted he didn't do his own research, but I thought this was a good example to break down why I look for things like the quality of the website, names and faces on the site, not just a garbage, whatever, not forcing you to tell a scam, and using all sources of social media, not just Twitter, that doesn't count, not just Discord, that doesn't count. I want a Reddit, I want a Medium, I want more, and I didn't see that here. Why I'm so skeptical on Pink Sale, why I like to see that your audit result is a reputable firm. This is why I go through that list. This is why I have my score report. This is a bad project. Like there's no reason, unless if you're a true gambler, that you would have bought into this one. And if you are a gambler, that's fine. Then as long as you're smart enough to time it, to understand, okay, it's going to dump at some point and it's got to time it before they do. Okay, great. I'm saying that for me, I would never even taken this risk. This goes to risk mitigation. This is one that's even too risky for me because I saw all sorts of red flags, not just from a long-term investment, but just in general. Like I didn't see why anybody would invest in this thing at all, because there was so much risk. Even if you only lost a couple $100, it's still losing a couple $100 because now they've stopped the sell. You can't sell anymore. So at that point, it's essentially a loss. And then they take the money and they probably spin up another project. Anyhow, BabyApeNodes, CryptoRealist, man, like I said, kudos to you for admitting you didn't do your own research, but I truly would want to understand, did you even look at the site? Because there's no way, looking at the site, this came across as credible, unless you said, I'm just going to gamble, roll the dice, and see if I can get it. But then why wait so long to sell it? Like, why not just sell it that same day? Because I see people were able to sell, and they made a couple $100. One person made $1,000. So people were able to sell. Why sit on it? Because there would have been no reason to sit on it based on the site. We knew they weren't going to be around. There's no way. And it's a lesson learned, for that and for everybody. He even said, take this as lesson learned. Why we say do your own research. And apparently Teddy Ganja gets rugged on an infrequent or frequent basis, whatever. And that's fine as long as you acknowledge that you're a gambler. I'm cool with you if you acknowledge you're a gambler and that's why you do it. But for those that are not gamblers, and even though it's throwaway money, you still don't want to go. I would personally not recommend going into blatantly obvious crap projects. Like, to me, if it's blatantly obvious, they didn't even try. Those are the ones I would say stay away from, because at the worst case, why would you want to enrich that? Why would you want to enrich people that they're not even trying? They're not even trying to convince you they're legit. Why would you want to even enrich them? Because they're getting enriched anytime you give them money. If you don't care, cool. I just personally have a moral, ethical boundary where it doesn't let me do that for my own portfolio. You got to make your own decision, but use this as an example and the tool and the research that we do. That's why we do it. That's why the smoke report is what it is to try to identify these, or at least the risk and what risk means. It's not just the contract. It's not just renounce. None of that matters. It's What are they really doing to try to convince you that it's legit?